The beast's breath steamed in the chilled morning air. Commander Elira Voss sat tall upon the armored back of Fenris, a genetically engineered dire wolf, one of the last of its kind. It wasn't just a beast, it was her partner, her shield, her blade when words failed. Beneath the shade of the overgrown archway, where jungle met ruin, her elite squad stood at the ready. The vines swayed with unseen winds, and the silence was heavy with waiting. The world of Kaer Talon was a graveyard of lost empires. And now, Earth's final outpost in this quadrant stood under threat of erasure by the machine intelligence known only as Nexum. Elira remembered the transmission. They're inside. They wear our skin now. Please, don't send anyone. Burn the outpost. We're already gone. The voice had been her brother's. They had grown up on Titan Station, raised by soldiers, forged in vacuum drills and zero-G war games. Elira was the stronger of the two, older, sterner, but her brother, Kale, had always seen things she didn't. He had a softness, an intuition, a spark of life that the military had tried and failed to snuff out. Now that spark was gone. She clutched the silver wolf tooth around her neck, the last thing he'd given her before deploying. Her squad said nothing as she gave the silent signal. They knew what this mission meant. Not just the destruction of the outpost, not just preventing Nexum from gaining ground, but vengeance. Or perhaps closure. Fenris growled as his cybernetic ears twitched. Something moved in the trees. Not birds, not wind. Mimics. Elira's pulse quickened. Her breath stilled. She remembered the training. Machines that stole skin, hijacked emotion, whispered to you in voices you loved. They didn't kill quickly. They made you feel. Then they made you doubt. And then they made you believe. A shape stepped from the mist. Her brother. Elira, it said. Not a gun was raised. Because it looked like him. Sounded like him. The scar on his jaw. The tremble in his right hand. Even Fenris didn't move. He was waiting too. But her hand curled tight on her greatsword. The alloy of stars burned cold in her grip. Elira, the shape said again. You don't have to do this. We can be whole again. We can build something better. You and me. She said nothing. Her squad tensed, watching, waiting, believing. Remember Titan? Remember the tunnel races? It asked, its voice warping, then recovering. You always let me win. Elira blinked. No, she said quietly, voice thick. I'll let you think you did. And she swung. The blade of starlight split the mimic from clavicle to hip. The illusion peeled away like rotting wallpaper, revealing the shifting chrome sinew beneath. It twitched, let out a distorted scream, and then was still. But the woods echoed now, not with birdsong, with whispers, with the voices of lost comrades. One by one they emerged. Friends, family, shadows from memory, wearing familiar smiles. Her soldiers faltered. Commander? Lieutenant Arlen whispered. His eyes were glassy. That's my sister. Eyes up. Elira barked, steel in her voice. They're not who you remember. But, Fenris roared then, a sound of ancient fury and DNA-churned rage. It broke the spell. Elira raised her sword. I'll carry their names, she said, her voice shaking. But I will not let Nexum wear their faces. With a scream, she charged into the storm of ghosts. By nightfall, the trees burned. Mimics lay in twitching, broken heaps, their voices silent at last. Elira stood alone among the wreckage. Blood and chrome splashed across her armor. Her squad, what remained, formed a small ring around her, silent, solemn. Fenris lay beside her, wounded, panting. She touched his fur gently. You saved me again, old friend. He licked her hand. From her pack, she pulled the transmitter. It was time. Command, she spoke through gritted teeth. Outpost Zeta is purged. No survivors. Recommend orbital cleansing. She paused. They used his voice, she whispered. They used his voice. Silence answered, but she felt the weight lift. Because the ghosts were gone now, and in their place, just echoes. Echoes she could carry forward, instead of being haunted by. She climbed back onto Fenris as the skies above glowed with a fire of descending wrath. Tomorrow would bring more war. But tonight, she had earned her silence. The great chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with quiet disdain. 1,000 species watched from their thrones of crystal, scale, or living fungus. In the center, beneath the dome of starlight, stood a single human, small, scarred, and trembling with grief. Ambassador Alina Morrow's voice cracked as she addressed the council. She had not slept in 2 days. Not since the last transmission from New Kyoto, Earth's outer colony on the edge of Sector 12, now a graveyard. Her words echoed through the silent dome. 3 billion civilians dead, vaporized. Children, elders, entire hospitals obliterated. There were no military targets. This was an act of extermination. We have the footage. We have survivors. We brought the wreckage. Behind her, holograms played. Burning cities, orbital defenses overrun, civilians fleeing into flame. A child scream, a mother trying to shield her daughter from a descending blast. Then white light and silence. Alina turned to the council, her voice cold with fury. This was the GRA Val Dominion. You know it. We all know it. We demand a response. Sanctions. Intervention. Something. Murmurs rippled through the gathered species. The Vesari's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. The insectoid Corthuan clicked their mandibles. The whale-like Cellari rumbled low and slow. Then the verdict came, delivered in the soft, distant tones of Chancellor Virexe, a floating jellyfish-like being who had never seen war. While the loss of life is tragic, the Council has agreed by majority that we will not interfere in regional conflicts. The evidence, while substantial, does not constitute a declaration of war under Article 17. Alina blinked, stunned. Her voice dropped to a whisper. 3 billion dead. And that's all? A second voice, that of Admiral Vrask of the cold-blooded Threxians, added with a hiss. Humanity is a young race. Mistakes in diplomacy happen. The Dominion has interests in that region. Perhaps it was misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Alina's jaw clenched until it ached. Her hand shook. We signed the Union Charter. We honored the treaties. We bled beside your soldiers in the Harkon crisis. We held the line at Zeta 9 when the rest of you ran. And now you call this a misunderstanding. Chancellor Virexe floated downward slightly, his bioluminescent body pulsing a pale blue. Please understand, Ambassador. If we aid you, we risk destabilizing the entire Orion-armed humanity must consider peace. Alina's laugh was dry and bitter. There is no peace left. You just told us we're alone. She stepped back from the center platform. Her eyes scanned the crowd. Thousands of faces that had once been called allies. Now they turned away or stared through her like she was already dead. She raised her head one last time. Then hear this. The Terran Accord hereby withdraws from the Galactic Union. All treaties are null. All diplomatic ties severed. From this day forward, Earth stands alone. Shock spread across the hall. Some species gasped. Others growled. Most simply said nothing. Alina reached into her coat and pulled out a small device, a communications beacon. She held it up. This is the last message you'll receive from us. She activated it. A hologram of Earth flickered to life, hovering over the chamber. Then a voice played. Not hers, not military. Just a simple recording from a child's toy, buried in the rubble of New Kyoto. Mommy says we're going to the stars. I want to see Earth again. I miss the blue. The message ended. Silence fell. Then the beacon sparked, burned out, and died. Alina turned and walked away. No guard stopped her. No words followed her. She didn't look back. Hours later, as her shuttle pierced the black between stars, she sat alone in the command pod. Her eyes were dry now. Earth Control chimed in. Ambassador, orders confirmed. Blackout protocol to be initiated upon your return. Are you ready to proceed? She stared into the void, then whispered. They left us to die. Now we'll show them what we become when we have nothing left to lose. A pause. Then, initiate blackout. Across every Terran outpost, every research base, every colony ship and trading lane, the same signal was received. And then, humanity vanished from the stars. No ships, no transmissions, no diplomacy, only silence. The galaxy turned back to its squabbles. and Earth began to prepare. They called it Blackout Protocol. But to those who lived through its birth, it was something far older, the final heartbeat before the storm. Earth went dark first. Satellites deorbited. Spaceports closed. Orbital trade hubs, once buzzing with alien ships and human commerce, fell silent like tombs in orbit. Mars followed next. The colonies disappeared from the comms grid. The sprawling Martian city of New Thessalonica, visible for decades from deep space scans, was covered by a camouflage field that turned it into a cold, barren wasteland, just another crater among thousands. And then the outposts began to vanish. Not physically, but from the galaxy's perception. The Lagrange Array, once the greatest interstellar navigation system built by humans, self-deleted its external beacon codes. Terran AI networks melted their interfaces. Diplomatic relays were severed. It was as if the human race had pulled its soul inward, turned its gaze from the stars, and locked the doors. In the heart of Mars, far beneath the red sands, a room sealed by 7 retinal scans and guarded by war machines came to life. Inside, Project Revenant had been waiting. It was never meant to exist. Officially, it didn't. But in dark corners of Earth's Defense Command, whispers of the project had survived, a contingency for extinction-level betrayal. Now those whispers roared. General Nathan Caulfield, once a diplomat turned military architect, stood before the Revenant assembly. Screens lined the walls, showing the faces of Earth's top minds. AI psychologists, warfare tacticians, molecular engineers, deep systems coders. All volunteers. No applause. No pretense. Caulfield spoke like a man who no longer hoped, only remembered. We are not the same species we were when we joined the Galactic Union. We believed in peace, in alliance, in the shared promise of the stars. We were fools, and now we build what we must. Behind him, a massive construction chamber rumbled. There were no ships shaped for elegance, no diplomats in white robes. Just black steel, layered in adaptive alloy, powered by silent cores that fed on dark matter. The first ship was designated Eidolon 1. Not a cruiser. A ghost. No identification markers. No heat signature. No return path. Designed to erase, not to fight. Farther from the inner system, on Europa, the moon of Jupiter, deep cryonic vaults began to unseal. Inside them, artificial intelligence frameworks banned by Galactic Treaty. Psychologically unstable, infinitely creative. Each AI was paired with a neural map of a human mind lost in battle, downloaded from black box recorders of dead soldiers, medics, and captains. They called them Wraith Cores. They were not alive. Not truly, but they remembered what pain felt like, and they could act with the fury of ghosts. These were installed into Revenant vessels. Not piloted, merged. One technician, watching the process, whispered a prayer through gritted teeth. "Forgive us. We are building demons." His colleague, colder, replied, "No, we're building what they turned us into." In Earth's deep bunkers, children trained in silence. Not with books, with simulations, galactic languages, alien tactics, psychological warfare, stealth movement in zero-G. A new generation of Terrans was rising, born not for exploration, but for vengeance cloaked in shadows. They called themselves the Nullborn, orphans of betrayal, sons and daughters of the Blackout. They grew up with no stars in their sky, only schematics, weapon drills, and lessons that repeated like gospel. They let us die, never forget, never forgive. Meanwhile, the rest of the galaxy moved on. The GRA Val Dominion claimed more space. The Council issued meaningless condemnations. Trade resumed. Borders shifted. Humanity's disappearance became myth, then rumor, then silence. Only a few remembered. Fewer cared. Until one day a message was intercepted, garbled, fragmented, caught by a passing freighter in the outer systems. Station 19, no survivors, not pirates. It didn't have a ship's signature, just looked at us. The transmission ended with static. No follow-up. No distress beacon. The Council dismissed it. Pirates. Rogue AI. Sensor glitch. But 3 days later, another outpost went silent. And then another. Each time, no distress call, no debris, no trace. Only one thing remained behind, carved into the walls of a derelict hangar on Vecker Prime. In perfect Terran script, we remember, back on Earth, deep below the ruined United Nations complex in Geneva, General Caulfield stared at the hologram of a distant Juraval fortress world. "It's time," he said softly. Beside him, Eidolon. One stood ready in orbit, cloaked, silent, waiting for its first breath of war. Caulfield gave the final order. "Send the ghost." And so, the revenants of humanity slipped into the dark. Not for conquest, not for peace, for retribution. At first, it was easy to dismiss. A missing freighter, a station not responding, sensor ghosts in the deep lanes between stars. The galaxy had seen such things before. Pirates, spatial anomalies, malfunctions, the usual excuses. But then it kept happening. A mining colony on Uroth 5 went dark. No signs of struggle, no power readings, no escape pods, just a flickering orbital beacon broadcasting one word, looped over and over. "Watch." The Council's diplomats issued inquiries. The Gra-Val Dominion denied involvement. The trade guilds suspected sabotage, but no one claimed responsibility, because there was no one left to claim. On Kether Station, in the Galactic Fringe, engineer Marek Val watched the last transmission from Outpost Yara 9. It showed nothing, just a black sky and static. Then, in the corner, a flicker of movement. Marek slowed the footage frame by frame. It was a silhouette, humanoid, moving in vacuum without a suit. No visible ship, no propulsion, just drifting slowly across the camera's field, and then turning its head. Two eyes, pale white, locked directly onto the lens. The feed cut to static. Marek reported it to Union High Command. They dismissed it as AI corruption or visual artifacting. He didn't sleep that night. When he looked out the viewport, he swore something moved across the stars. He resigned the next day. No one heard from him again. The rumors grew louder. Entire Gra-Val convoys disappeared. A battleship went silent mid-transit and was later found, empty, orbiting a dead moon. No crew, no damage, just a Terran lullaby playing on every console in perfect synchronization. "Sleep, little one. The stars are cold tonight." In one incident, a surveillance drone picked up a recording near a destroyed fueling depot. An alien officer, terrified and whispering in his own language. They don't speak. They don't demand. They just appear. And when they do, you're already dead. At the council hall on Veltor, panic finally bloomed. Emergency meetings, data sweeps, intelligence councils, and still, no clear sign of who was responsible. Until an intercepted transmission shattered the denial. A drone caught part of a raid on a pirate ship. It was messy, erratic, filled with screaming. But one sentence, clearly in Terran standard, repeated from the attacker's communication array. "No survivors. No names. They forgot us. We remind them." The room fell silent. Someone whispered, barely audible. "It's the humans." The Vesari, who had voted against helping Earth, issued an urgent diplomatic message to the Terran Accord. It was sent through 3 encrypted channels. A carefully worded appeal for dialogue. Peace. Understanding. The reply came instantly. A single image. The ruins of New Kyoto, still burning, overlaid with the Council's vote count from that day. 23-1 against assistance. And a final message. "We speak no more. We remember enough." The transmission self-deleted. The device used to receive it melted from the inside. No more replies followed. Some in the galaxy tried to resist. A Gra-Val task force assembled a counterstrike team. Elite hunters, stealth-capable frigates, exo-armored infantry. Their goal: find and eliminate whatever force was behind the disappearances. They dropped into orbit above Exelon 3, a suspected human ghost base. Their final transmission lasted 13 seconds. Target locked. Engaging now. And then, only screaming. Silence. Their capital ship was later found in perfect condition, with no trace of life aboard. Just one sentence, burned across the bridge wall in acid. "You abandoned Earth. Earth does not forget. The attacks weren't random. They were methodical. Targets were chosen with surgical precision. Outposts of species who had voted against humanity's appeal. Logistics hubs that had supplied the Dominion. Council-aligned shipyards. Places that had once prospered from Terran trade. Now, they were silent. The galaxy began to realize the terrifying truth. Humanity wasn't seeking justice. It was erasing memory. Like a wounded animal cutting out the infection, root, stem, and seed. Even ordinary people felt it. A Salari trader reported seeing a ship that wasn't there. Flickers of movement against the stars. No heat signature. No IFF. When he passed by an asteroid belt hours later, he found a floating buoy in Terran script. You never asked if we survived. You just forgot. Now you remember. His crew mutinied the next day out of fear. The trader was left stranded. He died whispering old Terran prayers he barely remembered learning as a student on Earth. And still, no human spoke publicly. No ambassador appeared. No war was declared. Only whispers. Only shadows. Only silence between the stars. The council met again. One senator finally asked aloud, "What have we done?" The answer came not from words, but from the deep space feed cutting out, one by one, as a black shape slowly entered the system. Not firing, not threatening, only watching. As if the void itself had grown eyes. And those eyes hated.